Good evening to the faculty, to the staff of this extraordinary program, and most importantly, to the students. Thank you for your time this evening and for your dedication over the course of the last 3 years. My name is David Hefner, and I'm the Vice President for Online and Continuing Education. I want to thank you all for your time spent. Looking forward to some extraordinary presentations to continue on the outstanding presentations that were presented on the first 2 days. As I mentioned before, 50 years ago, when we first launched our MD program, we had 24 students. Several years later, we announced our PhD program, which was our second doctoral program. And 25 years later, we launched the Doctor of Health Administration program, and this body and these students, you all, are the inaugural class, history being made. I have listened intently and observed the work that has been done over the last 2 presentations. It is clear the faculty has done an outstanding job preparing you all for this area, for your futures in health administration. Whether you want to continue where you are in terms of the organization, where you're looking to advance in the organization where you are, or you're looking for some movement that allows you to leverage your new knowledge in ways to benefit those whom we serve in service to the MSM mission, vision, and core values. It is clear that you all are prepared for that journey. Again, I want to thank Dr. Wardrop for the work she's done. I want to thank Dr. Miles, thank Dr. Baldrick, and again, thank the faculty for the preparation they put in, the dedication they've had over 3 years to ensure the journey in this doctoral program is a successful one. I look forward to listening and observing in on these 3 presentations, and I hope that each of you recognize the history that you're making to make us proud as Morehouse School of Medicine alumni to serve and advance the mission and vision of leading the creation and advancement of health equity to achieve health justice. Thank you. I look forward to observing the presentations.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner. Good evening and welcome to this evening's Spring 2025 DHA Capstone Oral Presentations. I'm Renetta Waldrop, Associate Professor and Inaugural Program Director for the DHA program, also serving as the Interim Dean for Online Education and Expanded Programs. Tonight, our Cohort 1 scholars who entered the DHA program in the fall of 2025 will complete the last assignment and presentation of their 3-year doctoral journey. This culminating project, a solution-focused capstone, will showcase their ability to identify a problem related to healthcare and to research and recommend solutions that are industry feasible, patient-centered, and administratively sound. Tonight, in TED Talk style, you will hear only a fraction of their research, a compelling story that sets the stage for the problem itself, a statement of the problem and its magnitude, and the literature and what the literature has revealed, and their recommended solution. For those of you wanting to learn more, their full capstone research project in the form of a white paper will be made available through a digital repository through the MSM library. I want to thank Mr. Swanson, Dr. Lynn Simpson, and Dr. Roland Wellmaker for making this option available. I also want to thank all of our faculty and OEEP staff who supported our scholars, and in particular, those faculty who served as Capstone coaches, guiding our scholars to this final stage of their doctoral journey, as well as their subject matter experts who provided industry-relevant advice. Thank you also to Ms. Blake Crosby for making this virtual presentation platform possible. Tonight's presenting scholars are Edwin Harrod, who will be followed by Letitia Mathis, who will be followed by Kayla Daphne. The audience will be able to enter any questions for our presenters in the chat. Following the last presenter, audience questions will be fielded by Dr. Devad Miles. Q&A will be followed by Dr. Dorothy Boldrick, DHA Assistant Professor, who has been with this cohort since day one, a mere 934 days ago, who will give closing remarks. Thank you all for being here and for your support of our DHA scholars. Mr. Harrod, your TED Talk audience awaits, and the virtual TED Talk stage is now yours. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Edwin Harrod, and I would like to discuss improving nursing recruitment and retention at the Veteran Affairs Vision 7, strategies to address the nursing shortage and create workforce sustainability. VISN stands for Veteran Integrated Service Network, our Southeast, and we're serving Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. Imagine a 72-year-old veteran, a man who has served our country with honor, sitting in a waiting room at a VA clinic. He's struggling with mental health challenges, waiting hours to receive care, not because the staff doesn't care, but because there simply aren't enough nurses. This location is in a rural area and is very difficult to staff. To the audience, raise your hand or even just nod your head if you're familiar with healthcare in rural areas, or you have family or friends who live in rural areas. Healthcare in rural areas within the VA has been a challenge. Many of our veterans are offered telehealth services because of staffing challenges. This is not just his story. It's a story of thousands of veterans across the nation. It's the story of an overburdened system in desperate need of solutions. The problem: the VA is one of the largest healthcare systems in the United States, serving those who have given everything for this country. Yet it faces an unprecedented nursing shortage, delays at hiring, lower compensation when compared to private sector organizations, and burnout is pushing skilled nurses away. The numbers speak for themselves. Since 2022, expansion of the PACT Act, over 400,000 veterans have enrolled in care, stretching an already thin workforce even further. If we don't act now, we risk compromising the very promise we made to our veterans to provide them with the best care possible. The background: nursing recruitment in the VA is a systemic issue nationwide in the VA. However, the key area I would like to focus on is the Southeast region, and nursing recruitment issues in our region definitely deserves merit of consideration. For instance, not addressing or making strides to improve nursing retention at the VA can directly impact the quality of healthcare provided to veterans. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, hospitals were already facing significant challenges, which made it difficult to sustain, build, and retain the healthcare workforce. Healthcare workforce combined with profound toll of COVID-19 pandemic have left hospitals and health systems, including post-acute and behavioral healthcare systems, in disarray. Many of these areas are faced with national staffing emergencies that could jeopardize access to quality, equitable care for patients and communities they serve. Another component is psychological safety and burnout. So we ask ourselves, why is this happening? Compensation and job offer delays. Private hospitals often outpace the VA in recruitment, offering competitive salaries and quicker hiring processes. Burnout and psychological safety, as I mentioned before, nurses face overwhelming workloads leading to burnout and high turnover rates. Systemic challenges, bureaucratic hiring practices, lack of innovative retention strategies, and cultural issues within the workplace further exacerbate the crisis. So the impact, what happens when nurses leave? Veterans wait longer, their condition worsens, the very system designed to support them begins to fail. This is a photo of a registered nurse administering medication to a veteran. I wanted to highlight our registered nurses, and I wanted to highlight a nurse in particular, nurses that are in action when they're caring for our veterans. So I just want to take a moment to highlight our registered nurses. All right, current and previous solutions. So we're going to start with nursing wages. So private and public sector healthcare organizations continue to increase nurses' salaries. Unfortunately, the VA is unable to keep up with the private sector salary rates. RNs in the VA make about 3 to 5% less than private sector, depending on location and years of experience. Next, you have international recruitment. Private sector uses strategies to recruit nurses from other countries. However, in the VA, employees would need to be a United States citizen for federal employment. This is because of federal policy, which is a major barrier when compared to private sector organizations. Contract recruitment. Private and public uses contract recruitment. Contract terms can range from 6 weeks to 6 months with options to renew. At the VA, as a cost-saving strategy, maybe about 5 years ago, they decided to open an internal travel corps program with their Office of Nursing Services. These individuals are full-time VA employees who can be deployed to different VA facilities nationwide to support during a critical shortage or even during a natural disaster. The barrier of this program is if a natural disaster occurs, the natural disaster will take precedence and that nurse will be deployed or reassigned. This is not a long-term solution, but short-term, absolutely. Retention strategies. Used in private and public sector, 30, 60, and 90-day check-ins with newly hired nurses. This is a holistic approach to intentionally check on new hire employees. Next are educational and research opportunities for special nursing projects with the Office of Nursing Services. This strategy at the VA is an open opportunity for facility level registered nurses or frontline registered nurses given the opportunity to apply for a research project or a process improvement offered at the national level. This provides opportunity to work with other VA nurses nationwide on a major process improvement, and this also promotes professional advancement opportunities and future promotions and network opportunities. Nursing turnover trends. All right, so the far side where you see my mouse is, we have nursing turnover trends. This is one particular facility in the VA, and we started with 2020 all the way to 2025. So the trend, 2020, 11.46, 2021, 12.43, and then 2022, 16.37. Then something happened in 2023. That rate dropped to 6.63. That year, they got it right. That facility got it right with the impact the year prior, which was in 2022. There were numerous nursing job fairs, recruitment incentives, relocation, and student loan repayment up to $200,000 with a 3-year commitment. The student loan repayment was only offered that particular year. This is normally offered to providers and physicians. Also, our human resources department, they did heavy marketing. they reached out to national associations, including American College of Healthcare Executives at their annual meeting. The second graph is the number of nurses eligible for retirement. So this is one particular facility with the 1,406 of eligible nurses that can retire at one facility in Vision 7 through the ages of 55 and 64. 5,761 nurses can retire today in Vision 7 at all 8 facilities, which includes Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. Evaluation of the nursing staff model at the VA. The first tool I like to, or one of the models I like to discuss is our staffing methodology, which is our budgeting tool. This is data that's going to support your recruitment. At the VA, it's an evidence-based standardized staffing model. This tool is used to justify additional need for nursing recruitment. It's a key budgeting tool used by nursing leadership. Next is Operation Nightingale. This was an investigation with the Office of Inspector General, Health and Human Services, and the Veteran Affairs Office of Inspector General of fraudulent nursing license and transcripts. This impacted nurses nationwide. At the VA nationwide, there were 224 nurses under investigation. In Vision 7, there were 14 under investigation. All 14 in Vision 7 were reinstated because of advanced nursing degrees, and the other few, while attending, the program was fully accredited. However, during this time, because of the additional credentialing process, recruitment delays were substantial. This caused many nurses to decline job offers and accept positions with other organizations because the process was extremely lengthy. Lastly, dissolution of the Nursing Professional Standards Board, which was a federal policy within the VA. The NPSB was a significant barrier. Many nurses were continuously denied promotions and incentives. The efforts to dissolve this governing board were to increase local nursing practice accountability and ensure direct nursing leadership have an autonomy to promote their nurses and boost retention efforts. Since the dissolution, many nurse leaders have discussed retention improvements. All right, now we have a cost comparison. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of salaries. So with private sector in the Atlanta, Georgia area, this is about 3 to 5 years of experience. You're looking at $107,000 a year, depending on experience and specialty. At the VA, we're right about $99,285. The reason why I wanted to do a cost comparison salary is because funds are appropriated 2 to 3 years prior. And at the VA, that's been a barrier. So if one facility needs 40 nurses, that's about $4.5 million. If the funds aren't used, the funds will be returned to VA central office. So a return on investment by utilizing those funds before it's returned would be to improve healthcare for veterans, reduce waits and delays, and reduce burnout by bringing in those 40 nurses. Now, keep in mind, some funds will not get used right away because of the facility's senior leadership team. They can make priorities, and they may deem a mental health clinic more priority than staffing a nursing unit. Unfortunately, this barrier does cause delays in recruitment. All right, HCAHPS comparison. So, hospital consumer assessment of healthcare providers and systems. I wanted to do a comparison. The Hoag Memorial in Newport, California is one of the top 5 hospitals in the country for HCAHPS star ratings, 5 out of 5. And the VA, as you can see over here, we're 2 out of 5 star. The reason why I wanted to do a comparison slide was because in the patient experience, both organizations have an 8 out of 8. Although we're equivalent in the patient experience category, we still have work to do at the VA. We definitely have some work to do in safety of care, mortality, readmission, and timely and effective care. I wanted to do a comparison because I do believe as a leader, you are to celebrate the small wins. That is a win for the VA. We get beat up on so much, so it was an opportunity to kind of highlight them and, allow them to shine in that category. But we definitely have some work to do. Proposed solution: market assessment, salary surveys for nursing professions, primarily registered nurses. The VA currently does an annual review. However, to keep up with private sector organizations, we need to utilize quarterly and biannual reviews to stay current on nursing pay. Reboot: reduce employee burnout and optimize organizational thriving. The goal is to provide more evidence-based strategies that can be utilized as a whole health model or framework for the organization. Instead of only focusing on nursing, this can be an interdisciplinary approach. So the teams, we all actually can work together and focus on the reboot. Lastly, removing barriers of appropriated funding, as I mentioned before. At the VA budget is appropriated about 2 years in advance, in which many of the allocated positions were pre-funded at least 1 year prior to posting on USA Jobs. Medical center directors will sometimes prioritize hiring physicians in specialty clinics before hiring nursing staff. The goal would be to streamline the funds quicker so departments can initiate the recruitment process a lot sooner. Call to action: retention strategy. Nursing recruitment and retention is a significant issue nationwide. However, one holistic approach is checking on your new nurses 30, 60, and 90 days. Research shows this is highly effective in retention. VA academic partnerships. A new strategy would be to find other nursing professions, such as licensed practical nurse programs and certified nursing assistants academic programs, to partner with the VA. If given the green light, I would form an interdisciplinary work group comprised of representatives from human resources, the chief nursing office, nursing education, and external academic representatives and stakeholders to evaluate nursing trends, evidence-based practices, and strategies to sustain nursing recruitment and retention. A vision for the future. Imagine a VA system where every veteran receives timely, high-quality care, a system where nurses feel valued, supported, and motivated to stay. This is not an impossible dream. It's an achievable goal if we take action now. In closing, to every nurse, healthcare leader, and policymaker in this room, the future of veteran healthcare depends on us. Our veterans stood for us. Now it's time we stand for them. Let's work together to build a healthcare system worthy of their sacrifice. Thank you to all veterans. Thank you. Honorable mentions. Thank you, God up above, my family and friends, for ongoing support. Thank you to Dr. Waldroff, Dr. Boldrick, Dr. Dodson, Dr. Richards, Dr. Houston, Dr. Howes, and DHA Cohort 1. Have a good night.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Letitia Mathis, and I will be presenting my capstone on the negative health impacts of polybrominated diphenyl ethers, strategies to reduce exposure in infants and toddlers. I chose to focus on polybrominated diphenyl ethers, also known as PBDEs, because as a mother myself, I discovered that there are harmful chemicals in the toys that our kids play with, and also in the household furniture and utensils that we use daily. So just imagine you just finished eating this delicious meal that you prepared using black plastic utensils, and after dinner you put your kids, whether it's your kids, nieces, or nephews, you put them to bed with their favorite toy containing black plastic. But what you don't know is that during these everyday activities, you're constantly being exposed to these potentially harmful chemicals. So, what are PBDEs? PBDEs are chemicals that are known as toxic flame retardants that have the potential to affect our health. They're used in consumer goods such as our couches, children's toys, electronics, and items made from recycled black plastics. They have been linked to neurodevelopmental issues, thyroid issues, and increased risk of cancer. Infants and toddlers, who are children from birth up until 3 years of age, are more vulnerable to PBDE exposure due to 4 factors. These 4 factors include their age, weight, mouthing behaviors, and breastfeeding. Children within this age range have rapid brain development. So the impact of these harmful chemicals can have long-term developmental effects on their health. Also, they ingest more dust relative to their body weight, causing them to yield higher concentrations of PBDE chemicals. The CDC in this table, the CDC recommends the average dust ingestion rate for kids up to 2 years old is up to 90 milligrams per day. And this leads me to the next factor, their mouthing behaviors. Children up to 3 years of age have increased mouthing behaviors, with pacifier usage contributing to 20 milligrams per day of dust ingestion. And lastly, PBDE chemicals have been found in breast milk. So babies who breastfeed are exposed to PBDEs in this manner as well. A 2023 Washington State study led by Schroeder found PBDEs in 100% of the breast milk samples collected in Washington State. But don't be alarmed. While the benefits outweigh the risk, long-term breastfeeding is much more beneficial to a baby's growth and brain development. However, the strategies to manage the negative impacts of PBDEs will also create awareness for those moms who choose to breastfeed. Studies have associated PBDE exposure to neurodevelopmental issues, thyroid and ovarian issues, and its potential to affect cancer risk. Julie Hertzman of Columbia Center for Children's Environmental Health examined the health effects of PBDEs in children in New York and determined that children with higher concentrations of PBDEs scored lower on tests of mental and physical development at 12 to 48 and 72 months of age, which also demonstrates the neurodevelopmental effects of PBDE exposure in small children. Also, a Cincinnati study determined that prenatal PBDE exposure was also associated with decreased serum thyroid levels in children at 3 years old, which could lead to the development of hyperthyroidism. So what are the disparities associated with PBDEs? According to the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, the median concentration of PBDEs in small children, for children in families below the poverty level, was higher than that of families at or above the poverty level. And this is likely due to low income factors affecting the ability of households to purchase new furniture, or they've accepted older furniture from somewhere else. Also, a 2020 Northern California study led by Varshavsky determined PBDE levels were significantly higher in the maternal and fetal tissues among non-Hispanic Black women compared to that of Hispanic and Latino women. And this is likely due to the area having low socioeconomic status and poor housing quality. So, few states have been leaders in addressing PBDEs. For example, California. California residents have some of the highest levels of PBDEs due to the state's strict furniture flammability laws requiring the use of PBDEs in consumer goods. As a result, California became one of the first states to ban the use of PBDEs in consumer goods such as children's products, mattresses, and upholstered furniture. Next, we have the state of Washington. The state of Washington developed a Safer Products for Washington program to determine sources of exposure to harmful chemicals affecting children, assess alternatives to these chemicals, and enforce regulation. But on a federal level, the EPA launched its voluntary Children's Chemical Evaluation Program in the year 2000, basically asking chemical manufacturers to provide data on the safety of chemicals that children were exposed to. But since this program was voluntary, the program failed to provide adequate data, which led to the program eventually failing to meet their goals. Lastly, the Pediatric Environmental Health Specialty Units, which is a partnership between the EPA and the Centers for Disease Control, or CDC, developed the Pediatric Environmental Health Toolkit. This toolkit provides chemical exposure guidelines, risk assessment tools, prevention strategies, and policy recommendations for healthcare professionals, families, and communities targeting chemicals that can potentially cause negative health effects in children. As someone who actively tests for the presence of PBDEs in human serum, while also a Doctor of Health Administration student at Morehouse School of Medicine, I feel that it is my duty to bridge this gap between environmental risks and public health. But in order to do that, I have 4 recommendations, and they include to establish a robust state-based monitoring program to track PBDEs, improving the existing Pediatric Environmental Health Toolkit, developing stronger recycling strategies, and increasing research efforts. Establishing a state-based monitoring program to track PBDEs is needed because people live in different geographical areas across the US, and they're also impacted by their local regulations, environmental conditions, and their dietary habits. So essentially, this program would serve as a registry to inform people of their environmental risks, depending on the area that they live in. We can improve the existing pediatric environmental health toolkits. This is a more practical solution because it's easily accessible and it's free. We can enhance these toolkits by annually reviewing and updating them with PBDE information that could stem from evidence-based research and from that state-based monitoring program. In this digital age, we can also expand these toolkits into cell phone apps while also continuing with the website and paper copies. To maximize its use, an AI chatbox feature can be added in the app for people to quickly ask questions about exposure risk and to facilitate engagement and use. Next, we need stronger recycling strategies. With the incorporation of an effective label tracking system, recycling facilities can ensure that materials with PBDE are separated from materials that shouldn't contain these harmful chemicals so that these items are not repurposed and cycling back into our homes. The collaboration between the recycling industry, scientists, regulators, and environmental groups can help to create a more sustainable recycling process, establishing policies that reduce PBDE use in consumer products, all while minimizing chemical exposure. Lastly, we need research. This will help us to better understand and define the long-term effects of PBD exposure, particularly in children as it relates to age, gender, socioeconomic, and socio-demographic factors. Extensive research would also give us a better understanding of what alternatives are being used out there in the place of PBDEs. Are they harmful as well? We need to know this information so that we can inform policy decisions. In conclusion, I'm calling for all health administrators, policymakers, state health departments, federal health agencies, environmental health researchers, and even the recycling industry to come together in an effort to help mitigate environmental risk efficiently. The solution for addressing PBDEs in children is grounded in education, awareness, and prevention. While we may not be able to completely remove PBDEs from our environment immediately, these solutions are essential steps to at least reduce exposure that will impact our infants and toddlers. Through effective collaboration between healthcare administrators and stakeholders, we can implement meaningful changes to reduce PBDE exposure in children and prevent potentially life-altering health consequences. With successful implementation, we can expand our efforts to more than just PBDEs. We can tackle the many other harmful chemicals out there. Together, we can advance health equity by addressing those underserved communities that may experience negative health outcomes from increased PBD exposure, with an underlying goal of improved cost savings as well as improved population health. But before I finish, I would just like to give a huge thanks to God, first and foremost, also to the DHA program and its administrators, Dr. Baldrick, Dr. Waldrop, and Dr. Howard for your continuous support. I would also like to give a huge thanks to my Capstone coach, Dr. Komalafe, and my subject matter expert, Dr. Jodine, for your guidance, your inspiration. And I would also like to give thanks to my extremely supportive friends and family, especially my mom, who has been my backbone throughout this entire process. And I would also like to give my last thanks to my biggest inspiration, to my why, my son Joel. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kayla Daphne. My Capstone project focuses on developing a neurological integrated hospital, bridging the gap in neuro-related healthcare. What if we could transform the way we treat patients with neurological conditions, where every aspect of care is seamlessly connected, personalized, and proactive? Patient X starts their journey at the tender age of 4 years old. At 4 years old, patient X is diagnosed with Arnold-Chiari malformation, a structural defect in which brain tissue is pushed down out of the skull and into the spinal cord. To treat this, the patient has their first surgery at 5 years old, a decompression surgery where the neurosurgeon chips away at part of the skull and the first two vertebrae to give room for your spinal cord and cerebrospinal fluid to drain. With this surgery, you are also diagnosed with hydrocephalus, a buildup of fluid in the cavities called ventricles deep within the brain. In order to treat this condition, at the age of 13, a ventricular peritoneal shunt, also known as a VP shunt, a valve with a catheter is placed in the brain to drain the fluid, but not before having another decompression surgery the year prior to try and drain the cerebrospinal fluid. Like many devices that we use in our everyday life that experience everyday wear and tear, they face the possibility of eventually needing to be repaired or replaced. So does a shunt. A patient knows this because they experience symptoms such as headaches, nausea, vomiting, irritability, fatigue, and/or gait stability. Now, imagine you are having a shunt malfunction and you know this because you are experiencing some of the symptoms. You visit the emergency room to inform healthcare professionals of your symptoms. They do routine testing to determine shunt malfunction, including a CAT scan of the brain, and perform a multitude of x-rays, commonly referred to as a shunt series, to determine if the catheter and valve are still in place. Everything comes back normal, so they send you on your way. This goes on for months. You are in excruciating pain and are now passing out from the pain of the headaches, but still nothing is done. Fast forward to 3 months later when you wake up with a sharp pain in your stomach and go to the emergency room. You get your appendix removed, although it was perfectly fine. The general surgeon informs you that you have pockets of pus in your abdomen because your shunt has not been draining properly. Next thing you know, you are in the intensive care unit with sepsis and an external shunt confined to the bed. After being in the hospital for an additional 2 months and coding twice, you are discharged. This could have been avoided had the numerous providers you saw in the months prior listened and dug a little deeper to confirm that a shunt revision or replacement was needed. This is the reality for many individuals with a neurological condition. This is just one of the examples of the gaps in neurological care. In this scenario, had patient X been properly diagnosed and treated at their first encounter with healthcare professionals, they would not have undergone an unnecessary appendectomy nor developed sepsis from the fluid not draining properly over 3 months. The time gaps in care are critical to patients and can be a thin line between life and death. Many individuals with a neurological disorder experience a gap in their care and/or have trouble accessing care. A neurologically integrated hospital is not just a dream. It's the future of healthcare combining cutting-edge neuroscience and holistic medicine. There are over 600 identified neurological disorders. The World Federation of Neurology discusses a study from the Global Burden of Diseases that state 40% of the global population suffers with some sort of neurological disorder. Major problems in traditional neurological care are fragmented care, delayed diagnosis, reactive versus proactive care, and lack of accessibility. Many individuals go untreated due to limited access to proper care, lack of general support, and limited financial resources. If patients are able to receive their healthcare services under one roof through integrated quality care, maybe these numbers can decrease, which would lead to various health outcomes, including increased mental health, quality of life, and increased physical abilities, as well as decrease in comorbidities, as there would be a bridging of the neuro gap in healthcare. Though addressing this particular shortfall in healthcare may not solve the drastic number of issues within the system, addressing neuro-related illnesses and diseases can move the needle in the right direction towards an effective and more integrated healthcare system that aims to treat the person as a whole holistic being. Patients and their families are specifically impacted by the lack of integrated neurological facilities. Without adequate and proper care, patients become critically ill and die. When patients are not treated successfully, their quality of life decreases. Developing an integrated healthcare institute for patients with neurological disorders is important for patients to receive treatment in regard to their overall well-being and not just the physical aspect. Integrated healthcare presents the possibility of receiving care under one system. Often, patients are referred to other facilities for services beyond their scope. If patients with neurological disorders are able to receive all of their care under one health system, this would enhance a patient's access to care. This would also enhance the patient's quality of care, quality of life, and the healthcare industry's healthcare costs. Building an institute of this magnitude will cost a pretty penny. Based on financial research from St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, who has a similar operational model, the initial investment would cost about $2.5 billion. This includes the cost of land, the building, operational costs, administrative costs, equipment, recruitment, and more. This seems astronomical, but implementing a neurological integrated health system cuts costs. Caron Health reported costs 18% below the industry average. With the life expectancy of the population increasing and the rise of chronic neurological disorders, the demand for neurological care is on the rise. The global neurology market is projected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 5.5%. Additionally, integrated care models such as those implemented by Kaiser Permanente and the Mayo Clinic have been associated with cost savings of approximately 50% compared to traditional programs. Improving the health of the population increases quality of life and also decreases the cost of healthcare. A successful example of modern integrated care is the London stroke model established in 2010. This model centralized stroke services into 8 hyperacute stroke units across the city. Each unit integrated neurology, rehabilitation, mental health, and nursing services to ensure a comprehensive approach to patient care. A study published in The Lancet found that the centralized model reduces mortality rate by 5% and decreases hospital stays 1 day per patient compared to previous models. Research has shown that patients treated in a traditional hospital report modest improvements in quality of life, with scores improving from 10 to 15% on average post-treatment. In contrast, those treated in a neurological hospital often experience significantly greater improvements, with quality of life scores increasing 20 to 30%, particularly for chronic complex conditions such as Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and epilepsy. A key solution to neurological care is the integration of multidisciplinary teams, which have been shown to improve outcomes over a range of neurological disorders. For instance, Sepasnik conducted a comprehensive review demonstrating that stroke patients treated in multidisciplinary team coordinated units had significantly better outcomes than those treated in general medical wards, including improved functional outcomes and reduced mortality rates. Integrated care models have been shown to improve patient satisfaction, reduce health disparities, and increase effectiveness of treatments, particularly for chronic conditions like Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis. Crocker found that integrated care improved access to services and ensured smoother transitions between care settings, benefiting both patients and providers. Currently, patients must navigate various healthcare systems and often face multiple points of contact, which leads to fragmented care and can delay diagnosis and treatment. An integrated care model where patients receive coordinated care across multiple specialties under one roof has the potential to improve health outcomes, streamline patient care, and enhance the overall patient experience. This model has been shown to reduce healthcare costs, improve quality of care, and increase patient satisfaction. My vision is to create a state-of-the-art neurological hospital offering a broad spectrum of services, including neurology, psychology, rehabilitation, primary care, obstetrics, orthopedics, rheumatology, dental, and social support services. The integrated care model will include multidisciplinary teams, comprehensive care pathways, patient and family engagement, and community outreach. This integrated approach will enhance the overall care experience for patients, minimize delays, and lead to better health outcomes, especially for those suffering from complex neurological disorders. The creation of a neurological hospital with an integrated care model is an essential step forward in improving the care of patients with neurological disorders. By addressing the challenges of fragmented care, the hospital will provide patients with comprehensive, coordinated care they deserve. Through careful planning, securing funding, recruiting top-tier staff, and leveraging advanced technology, this proposal can be successfully realized, improving both health outcomes and patient experience for individuals affected by neurological conditions. To achieve building and operating a neurologically integrated hospital, funding will be received from grants, including federal and state, as well as loans, donations from individuals and organizations, and investors. Recruiting top-tier physicians and staff is a must. The recruitment process can be done through an agency as well as direct hires, partnering with universities and medical schools to recruit staff and physicians. At 20 years old, patient X has been through a countless number of brain surgeries and procedures, an unnecessary appendectomy, surviving a stroke and losing hearing in their left ear after a surgery complication, and now living every day with a migraine and neuropathy because no medication provides relief. 11 years ago, patient X made a Facebook post about what they were experiencing in their journey and stating how they wanted to develop a hospital for individuals with neurological conditions alike. The future of neurology is not just about curing diseases. It's about optimizing the human brain for a healthier, longer life. So let's build it together. Hi, my name is Kayla Dauphiné, and I am Patient X. I would like to take the time and give all my thanks and praises to God who has carried me through this program. I would like to thank Dr. Waldrop, Dr. Baldrick, Dr. Howes, Dr. Howard, my faculty lead, Dr. Houston, my coach, Dr. Dotson, my subject matter experts, Dr. Dennis, and my pediatric neurosurgeon, Dr. Green. To my church family, pastor and first lady who have been praying for me behind the scenes and encouraging me to press on. Thank you to my cohort family and friends who have been a shoulder to lean on during my program. To my sisters and my little Mushu who do not know it but continue to push me to my full potential each and every day, because if I can do it, you can too. A big thank you to my outstanding mother who supports me in all of my endeavors, no matter how crazy they may sound. And last but not least, a big thank you to my amazing fiance who listened to all of my rants, encouraged me to press forward, and read almost every assignment that I have turned in. I am eternally grateful for all of the love and support received from each and every one of you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Before we begin the Q&A session, I want to take a moment to congratulate our scholars, Edwin, Letitia, and Kayla, on successfully completing their solution-focused capstone oral presentations. Congratulations. Your hard work, dedication, and your innovative approaches have been evident tonight, and we appreciate the thoughtfulness that you put into your solutions. Well done. Now, we will transition to the Q&A session. To our audience, if you have any questions, please submit them in the chat. I will be reading questions aloud for our scholars to address. You all are receiving congratulations from everyone. All righty. So if there are no questions for our DHA scholars, this concludes our Q&A session for this evening. Once again, congratulations to our scholars for their outstanding work. Your presentations have truly showcased the depth of your research and the impact of your solutions. At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Baldrick for her remarks.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to our scholars for another evening of excellence and scholarly achievement. Throughout this evening's presentations, we have witnessed the power of collaboration, research, and strategic problem solving. The insights and recommendations presented by our scholars reinforce that as a Doctor of Health Administration candidate, they will shape the future of healthcare policy, administration, and improve patient care. I encourage each of our scholars to continue to seek solutions to transform healthcare systems, improve patient outcomes, and influence policy on a larger scale. Well, this concludes another night of outstanding presentations from our scholars. I want to thank everyone for attending, and I want to thank you for your continued support of Morehouse School of Medicine and the Doctor of Health Administration program. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.